where the bus turns around in that abandoned lot at the edge of town. Nobody gets on there. Nobody gets off there, except
Undead City. The night comes alive. Believe it or don't. It's entirely your choice.
Yes, believe it or not, the choice is yours. Are you ready to listen? So, sit back, if you dare, and listen closely.
there's something wrong with the number 67 night bus. People get on, but not everyone gets off. Last month, I started noticing them. Shadowy figures sitting in seats that should be empty. Passengers no one else acknowledges. I thought I was losing my mind until I found the pattern. They only appear after midnight, always in the back rows. The driver never checks his mirror, and if you sit too close to them, you might become one. I know how to see them now, and after tonight's ride, I wish I didn't. We've all experienced it, that eerie feeling of being watched on public transport, the prickle on your neck when you're alone at the back of a bus. Most people chalk it up to paranoia or late night jitters, but what if it's something more? I work the late shift at Memorial Hospital. The number 67 is the only bus that runs past the hospital after midnight. For 2 years, I've taken it without incident, until 3 weeks ago. It started with small things, seats that looked empty but felt occupied, cold spots in the back rows, the sound of breathing where no one sat. I blamed it on exhaustion after 12-hour shifts. The human mind plays tricks when you're tired. Then I started counting. 7 people would board the bus at my stop. The driver never turned around, just stared straight ahead at the dark road. I'd count 7 reflections in the windows, but when I counted the actual passengers, there were always 8 or 9, a shadowy figure sitting perfectly still, facing forward. I thought I was hallucinating, so I started taking photos. Nothing showed up in them, just empty seats where I swore someone had been sitting. But when I reviewed the images later, I noticed something strange in a few frames. Distortions. Smudges where the air seemed thicker somehow. I began experimenting with my phone camera settings, playing with exposure times. That's when I captured it, a partial image, a translucent outline of a person sitting in what appeared to be an empty seat. But the face was just a dark void. I became obsessed. Every night, I sat in different places on the bus, testing my theories. The entities were most visible when you didn't look directly at them. You had to use your peripheral vision or that unfocused gaze when your eyes are tired. They appeared as shadow people, 3-dimensional silhouettes with no features except occasional pinpricks of light where eyes should be. And I realized something disturbing. They were becoming clearer each night, as if my ability to perceive them was strengthening their presence in our reality. I started researching the number 67 route. It's been operating for decades, one of the oldest lines in the city, and it has a history. Over 30 people have gone missing along this route since the 1970s. Police reports mention passengers last seen boarding the night bus who never arrived at their destinations. The official explanation: runaways, drifters passing through, people who wanted to disappear. But I know better now. Last week, an elderly man boarded at my stop. He sat in the back row, right next to one of the shadows. Throughout the ride, I watched from the middle of the bus. The shadow seemed to lean toward him. The temperature dropped so much I could see my breath. The old man nodded off, his head drooping. When his stop came, he didn't move. The driver called out, but he didn't respond. I turned to look, and for a moment, just a split second, there were 2 shadows where there had been one. Then the bus doors closed and we moved on. The old man never got off. I tried telling people, my co-workers, the day shift bus drivers, even called the transit authority. They dismissed me as overworked, stressed, maybe in need of psychiatric help. No one believed me. So I started carrying UV lights, EMF detectors, modified cameras, anything that might capture evidence. And last night, I got what I was looking for. I managed to record a temperature drop of nearly 20 degrees when passing through the back rows. My UV light revealed handprints on windows where no one had been sitting. And most chilling of all, my audio recorder picked up whispers. Join us. So lonely. Stay. They know I can see them now. The shadows turned their featureless faces toward me when I board. They leave the seat beside me empty, as if inviting me to move closer. The driver never reacts, never acknowledges them. I'm beginning to wonder if he's one of them too. Tonight, I'm boarding the number 67 one last time. I've modified my camera to capture what I see. I've told friends where I'm going, left evidence of everything I've learned. The entities are strongest at the final stop, where the bus turns around in that abandoned lot at the edge of town. Nobody gets on there. Nobody gets off there, except them. I need to know where they go when the bus completes its route. What happens in those 15 minutes when the driver cuts the lights and waits in the darkness before heading back? The bus is pulling up now. The door is opening. The driver's not looking at me. And there's something different tonight. All the seats are empty, but I can feel them watching, waiting. If you ever take the night bus, remember this. Count the passengers when you get on. Count them again before you stop, and whatever you do, don't fall asleep in the back rows, because not everyone who rides the number 67 is meant to get off. Alone in your car, that creeping sensation of eyes watching from the back seat, the subtle shift in temperature that makes your skin prickle. Last week, driving home on Route 16, I discovered something terrifying. There's a reason we feel watched on dark roads. Something rides with us. I can see them now, and once you know how to look, you will too. The human mind is wired to detect patterns, faces in clouds, figures in shadows. But what if some of those patterns aren't just imagination? What if our peripheral vision occasionally catches glimpses of something that exists just beyond our normal perception? I never believed in the supernatural. Ghost stories were just that, stories. Until 3 months ago when I started my new job. The commute is brutal, 45 minutes each way on winding back roads. Most nights, I drive home after dark. At first, it was just a feeling, that sensation of being watched that makes the hair on your neck stand up. I'd check my rearview mirror more often, convinced someone was sitting behind me, but the back seat was always empty. Then came the reflections, driving past streetlights. I'd catch something in my side mirror, a shape where no shape should be, a darkness deeper than the night outside. When I'd turn to look, nothing was there. Just empty roads stretching behind me. I started to think I was losing it. Sleep deprivation, stress from the new job, logical explanations. So I installed a dash cam, not just facing forward, but one for the interior too. I needed to prove to myself that my mind was playing tricks. That's when things got worse. The footage showed nothing unusual, empty seats, empty roads, but while reviewing it, I noticed something odd in the corner of the frame. A distortion, like heat waves rising from hot asphalt, but localized. Moving. I enhanced the video frame by frame. The distortion had a shape, vaguely humanoid, sitting in my passenger seat. I told myself it was a camera glitch, digital artifacts, nothing more. But deep down, I knew better. I started experimenting, different cameras, different angles, different times of night. The results were always the same. Nothing visible to the naked eye, but always that same distortion on camera, always in the passenger seat. Then I discovered something by accident. I was driving home late, exhausted after a double shift. My eyes were heavy, vision blurring. And that's when I saw it clearly for the first time. Not with my focused vision, but in that fuzzy space where tired eyes lose focus. A figure translucent but unmistakable, sitting beside me. Head turned toward the window as if watching the world go by. I jerked the wheel, nearly running off the road. When my eyes refocused, it was gone. But I had found the key. They can only be seen when you're not looking directly at them, when your vision blurs just right, when your mind slips into that space between alertness and sleep. I've been practicing, training my eyes to unfocus just enough. And I've learned so much. They're everywhere, in every car that travels lonely roads after dark. Silent passengers watching them through our windows at the world outside. I don't think they mean harm. They never interact, never acknowledge us. They simply ride along, invisible companions on midnight drives. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. I've started noticing them reacting. When I pass another car on a dark road, I can see my passenger turning its head, looking at the other vehicle, acknowledging something there. They see each other, which means they're communicating, perhaps even coordinating. Last night, driving home through a heavy rainstorm, I saw something new. My passenger turned toward me for the first time. I couldn't make out features, just a suggestion of eyes in a face-like void, but I felt its gaze. It knows I can see it now. I've been researching similar accounts. Most are dismissed as highway hypnosis or micro-sleep episodes, but buried in obscure forms in ancient folklore, there are stories, tales of road companions or night riders, entities that attach themselves to travelers. Some cultures believed they were protective spirits, guiding tired drivers home safely. Others saw them as soul collectors, waiting for fatal accidents to claim their prize. I don't know what they are, but I do know this. Once you learn to see them, they become aware of you too. Tonight, I'm making the same drive home, the same dark roads, the same winding path through the woods, but something's different now. The passenger hasn't appeared yet. The seat beside me remains empty, even when I unfocus my eyes. Instead, there's a new sensation, a weight pressing down on the back of my seat, breath on my neck. It's moved, and I'm afraid to check my rearview mirror. Next time you're driving alone at night, try it. Let your eyes unfocus slightly on that empty passenger seat, but be warned. Once you see them, they see you. And I'm beginning to think that's exactly what they've been waiting for all along. Everyone has received a strange call at some point. Telemarketers, wrong numbers, the occasional prank. But across the country, a pattern of nighttime calls has emerged that defies normal explanation. It started with George M. in Nebraska. Every night for 2 weeks, her phone would ring at precisely 3:28 a.m. The caller ID always showed unknown number, or sometimes just a string of zeros. When she answered, there would be silence, then breathing, then a voice would say her name before hanging up. I thought it was a stalker at first, George explained. I contacted my phone company, but they couldn't trace the calls. They said the calls weren't registering in their system at all. Like they never happened. But George's call log showed otherwise. The calls were real. After the 5th night, it said, I'm standing at the foot of your bed, George. I've been here every night. George's voice shook as she recounted this. But there was nothing there, nothing visible at least. George's experience isn't unique. Reports of similar nighttime calls have surfaced across the country. The details are eerily consistent, calls that come at the same time each night, from untraceable numbers, with callers who know impossible things. Michael Torres from Arizona received nightly calls for 8 days straight. Each call came at 2:47 a.m. Each time, the voice would recite one of Michael's childhood memories, things he had never shared with anyone. It knew about the time I broke my arm when I was 7, Michael said. It described the hospital room exactly, the color of the walls, the cartoon playing on the TV, even the nurse's name. How could anyone know that? On the 8th night, the voice told Michael to look under his bed. Terrified but unable to resist, he did. There he found his childhood teddy bear, the same one that had been in that hospital room 20 years ago, the bear that had been lost during a move when he was 10. That's when I knew I wasn't dealing with a human caller, Michael said. Dr. Eleanor Reed, who studies unexplained phenomena at Grayson University, has collected over 200 similar accounts in the past 3 years alone. What's particularly interesting about these calls is their consistency, Dr. Reed explained. They always come at the same time for each victim, though the specific time varies from person to person. They always escalate in the same pattern, starting with just the person's name, then revealing knowledge about the present, then about the past, and finally making claims about being physically present but unseen. Dr. Reed has identified several common elements across these cases. The calls often begin after a significant life event, moving to a new home, losing a loved one, or experiencing a major change. Electronic devices frequently malfunction in the homes of those receiving the calls. Lights flickering, TVs turning on by themselves, computers rebooting without reason. Many victims report feeling watched in the days leading up to the first call. The calls rarely continue beyond 3 weeks. They either stop abruptly or culminate in some kind of unexplainable physical evidence, like Michael's teddy bear. Most disturbing are the cases where multiple family members receive calls simultaneously on different phones. The Cooper family in Maine experienced this frightening phenomenon last winter. Parents Lisa and David, along with their teenage daughter Emma, all received calls at exactly 1:13 a.m. 7 nights in a row. Each call came from a different unknown number. Each family member heard a different voice, but all 3 voices spoke in unison, saying the same words. It felt like a conference call from hell, Lisa described. The voice speaking to me sounded like an old woman. David heard a man's voice. Emma heard what she described as a child whispering, but they all said the exact same things at the exact same time. What the voices told the Cooper family was perhaps the most chilling part. They described a fire that would destroy their home, including specific details about how it would start in the attic due to faulty wiring near the chimney. Terrified, David checked the attic the next morning and discovered exposed wires dangerously close to the chimney insulation, exactly as the voices had described. An electrician later confirmed that the wiring could have caused a devastating fire. Whatever called us that night might have saved our lives, David admitted. But why deliver the warning that way? Why terrify us for a week before telling us? The calls to the Cooper family stopped after they repaired the wiring. But not all cases resolved so clearly. Jennifer Walters from Texas received nightly calls for 18 consecutive nights. The voice never identified itself, but spoke as if it had known Jennifer her entire life. By the 3rd night, it was describing my dreams to me, Jennifer said. Not the dreams from that night, but dreams I would have later that same night. Dreams I hadn't had yet when the phone rang. And then I would have those exact dreams, detail for detail. On the 19th night, Jennifer's phone didn't ring. Instead, she woke on her own at 4:16 a.m., the usual time of the calls. Her phone's screen was lit up, but not with an incoming call. Instead, it was open to her photo gallery, scrolling through pictures by itself. Pictures Jennifer didn't recognize, of empty rooms in her house, taken from angles that seemed impossible, as if the camera had been floating near the ceiling. The last photo showed Jennifer herself, asleep in bed, taken from directly above her. Jennifer moved out the next day. She changed her phone number, her email, even her name. But a year later, she received one final call. No words this time, just breathing, then the sound of a camera shutter clicking. Phone companies and tech experts are baffled by these cases. The calls leave no normal digital footprint. They can't be traced or blocked through conventional means. These calls exist in a gray area of our understanding of telecommunications, explained tech security consultant Victor Reyes. They use the infrastructure of our phone networks, but don't seem bound by its normal limitations. It's like something found a back door into our most intimate method of communication. Some victims have found limited success with protective measures. Turning phones off completely at night works for some, though many report their devices turning back on by themselves. Others have placed their phones in metal boxes, hoping to block whatever signal is reaching them. A few have gone so far as to remove all phones and electronic devices from their homes entirely. For those currently experiencing these calls, Dr. Reed offers this advice. Don't engage, don't ask questions, don't share information. The pattern suggests these entities, whatever they are, feed on fear and attention. The cases that escalate most severely are those where victims become obsessed with identifying the caller. But this raises the most unsettling question of all. What exactly is calling? Theories range from the technological to the supernatural. Some believe advanced AI programs have learned to exploit vulnerabilities in our phone systems. Others suggest more traditional explanations like elaborate stalkers or hackers. Many victims, however, become convinced they're dealing with something beyond our physical world. Whatever called me knew things no human could possibly know, insisted Rebecca Chen, who received calls for 12 consecutive nights. On the final night, it told me it had been trying to reach me my entire life, that phones were just the easiest way now. Then it said next time it wouldn't need the phone at all. Rebecca hasn't received another call, but she now reports hearing her name whispered from empty rooms in her house. Tonight, when you're lying in bed scrolling through your phone one last time before sleep, think about who or what might be trying to reach you through that device. The barrier between our world and others grows thinner every day. As technology advances, we've created networks that connect every corner of the globe. But what else might be using those networks to find us? If your phone rings in the dead of night and the screen shows unknown number, you have a choice to make. You can answer and hear what's waiting on the other end, or you can let it ring, knowing that whatever is calling might be patient enough to try again tomorrow and the night after and the night after that. Just remember, it already knows your name. It might already be in your home watching as you decide whether to answer. And maybe, just maybe, it doesn't need the phone to reach you at all.